hour for you.
Y'all ready for this? Run from it. Let's run
Dominate what you're playing against and make your dance quit. That's our straight.
What is up? Happy Monday, and more importantly, Happy New Year. I couldn't tell you how happy I am to be back in the saddle here on the Bama Standard and the opening kick with my guy Smoke. Smoke, you have a good Christmas, good New Year? You missed me.
You're lying. You're not happy to be back. You'd rather be on that cruise, catching that great tan, toes in the sand, looking on the clear water, snorkeling with barracudas, like you said, man. You don't want to be around me, the old hag that tells you that Drew Allard is a good football player, and then the SEC put that conversation away for the best conference. But hey, listen, that's why we got this hour. Let's get to it, man.
Smoke, you know, when I came face to face with that barracuda, all I could think was, man, Monday I gotta get back so me and Smoke can talk about this Alabama-Michigan game.
So basically, you're referencing me to the barracuda. Got it.
With that said, man, we got an action-packed show. I am, regardless of what Smoke says, and I did have a good time down in the Caribbean, in Smoke's home territory. But no, I am glad to be back here on the opening kick with my man Smoke. We got a jam-packed show. With the college football playoffs are winding down. The NFL playoffs are about to wind up. And we're going to put a little final bow on Alabama and the SEC for this year before we move ahead into the offseason. Smoke's praying over, thank goodness. With that said, hit the like and subscribe button. If you are on Twitter or the X, as they call it now, come on over here to the Bama Standard on YouTube and hit that like and subscribe and give us love so you can see the shows popping up all week. We got some big ones this week. I think my boy Justin finally snagged the ungettable fish to come on the show with him tomorrow night. So for all you that haven't paid attention, AJ McCarron's been blowing up out there. He's going to be with us tomorrow night. So hit that like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the great content here at the Bama Standard. But with that said, man, we got a show to go with the opening kick. Before we do that, let's give a little bit of love to the people that love us by keeping the lights on, and that is Limestone Company. Have you ever dreamed of having beautiful natural stone in or around your home? Well, don't settle for subpar materials. Check out Limestone Company's selection of natural stone products to meet all your project needs. Limestone is located in Aniana, Alabama, and is one of the oldest, most trusted sources in the state. So contact them today and tell them we sent you by using the promo code the Bama Standard to receive 10% off your purchase of stone, which is a pretty daggum deal. So go to realrockstone.com today and give love to the people that give us the love. With that said, Smoke, it's over, man. I saw you putting your hands together. It went out with I'm on a boat and Bama's in my backyard, and I'm kind of glad I was on the boat, man. It was to be honest, it was
a beatdown. It was an ugly beatdown game that the quicker we get over this, the better it is. It was just ugly. The Michigan players opted out, Bama's players opted in, and they still got stonewalled and got smashed. They aren't the 13th best team, and they shouldn't have been in the playoffs. You need to go back and retool this whole entire SEC over the world thing, you and your best friend Lane, and just call it a day. The best conference so far is the Big Ten. And let's live with it. Yeah. So far. For today. Today's Big Ten. Don't start getting all analytical and say, well, if they played this and if we would. No one cares about the schedules that you play.
No, they're winning right now. They took care. Hey, Ohio State took care of an SEC team out of the gate. Penn State's taking care of all the pansies they set them up with in the playoffs. But
yeah, what about that slightly above average team that took care of that juggernaut Alabama? What about that one? You counting that one too?
Which one?
Michigan busting up Alabama. That counts too. Like, I'm a Bama guy, but just be honest with yourself. SEC.
How much are we? Look, man, these teams aren't in this, but look, Bama. There's no, like you said, Michigan had guys out, and Bama looked flat. It just got looked ugly. But man, I think that, I'll be honest, Smoke, does that not just kind of put a final bow on what this season was? An inconsistent team that had a lot of talent, had a high ceiling, but it just never worked.
Petty, I don't think that we look at college football in the right way. We all look at it and saying, okay, it's Bama's talent, new hot coach coming in. I do believe Kalen DeBoer is a good head coach, and the staff is solid. But you still have to put together the team for that season. And I don't think they clicked enough at the most important moments in order to put that real bowl, which is a national championship bowl or a playoff bowl, on the end of the season. But to win 9 games to come in when your head coach leaves when did he leave? In February? Or was it January when Coach Saban leaves late out in the season in January, to get one of those guys to come in and get your program going. 9 wins is solid, but like you said, Bama fans were spoiled for 10 in playoffs and national championships. So just retool the way that you look at it and just say, hey, listen, successful year. It didn't end the right way, but you still got 9 and have a chance to come back and get a new quarterback, new OC potentially, or new DC, co-DC potentially, and you losing the best player on your team to the NFL draft. But that's a whole nother one, because you and 98% of the Bama fans believe that you have a better quarterback in-house. So I'll let you guys know that.
And we've talked about that though, Smoke. It's not a belief that maybe there's a better quarterback, but I don't think he was the right one. I don't think it worked. I don't think he didn't work in this deal. For whatever reason, a great athlete, whatever, it didn't work while he was here. And his shortcomings didn't work with the coaches who had him. So, I mean, we'll move on from that one. I do agree, though. I think you hit on a great point, Smoke. And it's Bama fans are going to have the hardest time of doing this. Is what I'm about to tell you got to do. I'm telling to the fan base that because of what you said, for 10 or 15 years, the gold standard of college football has been Alabama. And to tell a fan that you have watched what a gold standard football team looks like, a gold standard program looks like, and how it's ran, to recalibrate your mind to what a good, and let's say what a great program in this new era looks like, is not what a great program looked like even 5 years ago. So to compare these teams and say, well, the defense ain't what we had in 2010 when we only gave up 4.3 points a game, or the offense wasn't it was when Bryce was throwing it to J-Mo and all those guys. Well, it's not going to be. It never will, because what we've said throughout the shows when we've had Siski on, and he tells you that 45 through 65 is now at Ole Miss and Missouri and South Carolina versus sitting waiting their turn at Alabama. But again, we're telling this to the fan base that's going to have the hardest time to recalibrate, because they were the ones that watched the standard for the longest and cheered for it.
And the way that the word that you have to remove from your vocab when you're talking about college football is programs. Like, you're not going to have that
great
building program situation anymore due to NIL. And basically kids buying into wanting to build a program. They just want a good team for that year. And it's really who could put together the best 6-month run with the best 85 on scholarship, the 65 that are really going to be contributors in the end of the season in January and December. How can we get those guys to play their best? Because at the end of that, you're going to have to retool and get a new team together. You're going to have to re-recruit, retain, pay, buy the best portal guys coming in, and recruit the best 4- and 5-star athletes into your program in order to have another year of having success, and then do it all over again the following year. Because the programs aren't there anymore.
And you've got to recalibrate. Again, talk about recalibrate. As a coach, you got to recalibrate how you recruit these kids, because you're recruiting a kid for a microwave society for 1 year. How does he come into that locker room, and how does he deal if he doesn't start? How does he deal if he's the man? How do you deal with your locker room when you're paying a kid, an offensive lineman, now $700,000 to come in, and your starter's only making $250,000, who now says, hey man, why is this guy, it's a whole different ball of wax for these guys to recruit to and against. With that said, go, you got something, Smoke?
No, you go. Don't keep going.
No, but I think I don't want to just, I know you're ready to move on from Alabama, but there was kind of some big news today, or either I don't know if it's a done deal, but the smoke, so to speak, is coming out that it looks like Bama's going to get the guy they really wanted to run the offense when this all started with Ryan Grubb before he went to Seattle. And it's looking like Ryan Grubb might be headed to Tuscaloosa. Smoke, is that What's your thoughts
Well,
on that? I mean, our fans want to know, is that going to give Bama what they wanted to see out of this offense under DeBoer?
yeah, I've never thought that there are great coaches. There are good coaches that great players make look good. So irregardless of your scheme, you still have to have those players to play within the scheme, right? For me, it's personnel and players over coach and scheme. Now, when you do have those players, you have to design it right and call it right, which I think that having Coach Grubbs there, he and Kalen have known each other. So, and you're not going to say, hey, you remember what we did 5 years ago? You're just going to look at him, kind of give him a wink, a nod, and he's going to understand how you want it done. He's going to know how you want the installs. He's going to know how you attack different defenses. So just to have continuity, I think it might help. But I don't know if this is the answer, and you should be running up and down your hallway or down in your basement, throwing up popcorn up in the air, confetti, saying, this is the guy that we need to win a national championship, because it's not like they went and got him. He got fired, didn't he?
He did.
Okay.
But, man, that's the one thing. Getting fired from a college job, you're like, but getting fired from an NFL job, Spurrier got fired from an NFL job. Some guys just don't work.
Yeah, because he wasn't good in the NFL.
Yeah, some guys don't work in that league, but work in college.
Right. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not bad. I'm just saying, how did they get him? And to me, I would ask, why didn't he come the first time? What made the pot so sweet this time?
NFL. The NFL pot's always. I know people love their alma mater. Nothing sweeter than that NFL pot.
He don't have a job, Teddy. He don't have a job.
Well, I know, but at the time, the NFL pot was sweeter. You ain't got to recruit. You ain't got to deal with NIL. You actually got salary caps. You feel like you might be going to normalcy, then you get your ass fired because you ain't a good coach at that level. But not all college offenses work in the NFL that seem to work in college. With that said, Smoke, you kind of touched on something about the SEC just needs to kind of shut up. They haven't. Look, 2 of the 3 teams that were trying to fight for we deserve a spot, South Carolina, and lost. Ole Miss played a freaking glorified high school, so that didn't really matter.
Big time win by Ole Miss. Hoorah.
Wow.
Who they beat, Duke?
But see, that's what, and Kiffin was trying to prove a point there. The number 1 defense in the ACC, Duke, just gave up. They fought with Miami, fought with everybody, and then they play an SEC team getting beat by 52. But the ACC and the Big Ten are different. It's the Big Ten and the SEC. I get that Big Ten has looked better in this postseason. I don't think the Big Ten's the argument. The bottom half of it, people don't. The Indiana, all that crap, whatever. But the top of the Big Ten, say what you want, man. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, they have the resources to come down here and play with anybody in college football. And they showed that in this postseason run. But it was starting to look like, because of the way the playoffs started 2 weeks ago, before the SEC started shitting all over themselves, that people were starting to kind of mutter, hey, there's probably going to be some changes. Do you think that might have the way it played out? They'll put the pause on that and say, no, we're good with the way it was. SEC didn't do what they needed to do. Shut up.
I think they put the pause on, let things play out. But the current model of college football benefits the Big Ten. The old model, without the NIL and just the 3 or 4 teams that were the best in the world and everyone wanted to go there. If you're in the South, it's Georgia, Bama, LSU, and they just hoarded everybody. Now you can't do that anymore. Players are being spread out. Now you're creating parity. The Big Ten's always had this issue. They've played with less and played better. And they knew that Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan were the better team. So they've lived in this world before. So they're okay with adapting to it. I just think the SEC are now finding they're going to have to retool and find better ways to adapt to the current model that we're in, that you can't have 14 top 5 players and 5 stars in the world. You can't have your 1, 2, and 3 deep all first rounders and somebody don't come and just poach them. So you're going to have to play with some guys that are just lesser talent, but find better ways how to retool them and get them healthy for the end of the year, better than the other conference did. So it's really the first year you got to catch up with it and evolve the way that you build your team.
Agree. But at the end of it, I do think this was a wake-up call for the SEC. There was a lot of chest pumping going into the playoffs, and let's be real, man. Tennessee gets popped by Ohio State, and what wasn't really a ball game. So look, their cream took out Georgia. you know, they looked good with their backup when they were playing Texas, but their backup didn't look as good against Notre Dame. And I mean, for years, everybody, including me, we talked about it before the show. I'm a big Notre Dame hater. I'm not a big believer in the big goal because I haven't seen them win a game of significance since Tony Rice walked out of there with Rocket Ismail. Well, guess what, man? Regardless of the backup quarterback, I know people like to make those excuses. Notre Dame played physical football. They were popping, and Freeman's a hell of a freaking Freeman's a hell of a coach. I told someone else this. I'm off giving Notre Dame shit after what I saw this last week.
But Petty, the way that Notre Dame has always been is the way that college football is today. Like, they never had 14 defensive linemen that could play. They usually had 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
They've always had offensive line play that was really good. Now they have a difference maker at quarterback, and I'm not saying that he's an explosive, dynamic runner, but he can do just enough to get a 3rd and 5. He'll pick up 6 yards. And now that puts the Georgia team in bringing in your 2s. Now your 2s don't look as good as it did when Jalen Carter and Wyatt were your defensive tackles. Now you're bringing in some guys that shouldn't be playing right now, but they have to. So at Notre Dame, you can take advantage of that. Now you can go ahead and just run the score up or have that drive to put the game away because Georgia just looked worn down. And that we're not used to seeing that. We're used to seeing Georgia wear other teams down. So the way that Georgia is currently right now, they need to find a way how to get into this new current landscape of college football with it. Retention, acquiring talent, and talent acquisition to catch up to the way that you're going to play football with the 17-game potential season if you're playing a college football championship game. Without having, like I said, a deep team of 65 or 70 players that can actually play and start and dominate games.
I couldn't agree more, Smoke. And I think you got to use Georgia is the poster boy. They are the face. I know Bama fans don't want to hear this, but they are the face of the SEC right now. They're the SEC champs this year. They were the last couple years. They've been the most dominant program the last 4 years, and they look tired and they look beatable. And to be honest, that's a microcosm of the whole SEC right now. Where was Alabama getting beat by Michigan? Who the hell did LSU play? Who did LSU play? Nobody knows. These are the SEC powers: Georgia, Bama, LSU. It was a very lackluster show, and Tennessee's on the uprising. Ole Miss doesn't have the consistency, although they can pop somebody. It's a soul-searching league right now.
So, Petty, the way that Kirby and all those guys know it is the way that Nick Saban's always built his program through the 4th quarter program of just the battle of attrition, the way that you train, having the 3 spot, which are the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd team, all practicing at the same rate, running the same plays. At some point, you might not be able to do that anymore, just because you're just going to run out of gas. And it's something that you have to really sit back and look at and say, are we doing the things, and you got to take inventory every single year, are we doing the things that's going to make us be the healthiest and the strongest at the end of the season? Can we continue reading the Nick Saban handbook of preparing your team and developing your team? Because you're not developing young players anymore. Them days are over. You're getting ready to play 17 games. So how can you get your team to the end of the road and them being the freshest team? You might have to pull back a little bit in the way that you train in the offseason. You might have to pull back a little bit in your sport strength and conditioning program. You might have to pull back a little bit in the way that you rep your team throughout the weeks in preparation for that run in the playoffs. Because it's basically like the NFL. And Tennessee's going to have a hard time playing the way that they play and be healthy and be fully energized at the end of the season because their pace is just chaotic, just like Ole Miss.
Yeah, absolutely. And Eric, man, I do want to address this. How many times has Georgia beat Bama, buddy? So is that the standard now, just beating Georgia? Because Georgia's won the national titles in the SEC. So you're right. Bama owns Georgia.
It's a matchup.
That's one game. Who's winning the titles? I'm sorry, man. I look, Bama through and through, but I'm going to be realistic here. The last 4 or 5 years, Georgia's been the program.
And Eric, I think you're missing what I've been saying for the last 3 minutes. No one cares about the regular season championships anymore. No one cares about the conference championships anymore. Once you throw playoffs into it, you have two different seasons. You have the regular season, then you have the playoffs. The regular season ring you get, and it says conference championship, and everybody take that and throw it out the window because all you do is you get a week off. But you're also playing another game. So do you want to do that? That's something else you got to look at and say, do I want that? And beating a team does not give you a national championship. We all would have said week 3 or 4 when Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois, they stink, the season's over. But no, Coach Freeman said, pause for a second. We still have a lot of games left. And there's a lot of things that can be flipped and ripped. And as long as we get into the dance and we're on the dance floor, yeah, we can end this. We can end the dance with the final dance and win a national championship.
Absolutely. And Sharon, two things. You're right. Alabama is the gold standard of all of college football, not just the SEC. But two things can be true at once. Alabama can be the gold standard of all time, but not the current face of the. Early 90s. In the 90s, they weren't. After the run, it was Florida and Tennessee for a while. Then it was LSU but the last 15, it's been Bama. But for the last 4, you got to give credit where credit's due. And again, that doesn't take away. Bama absolutely is the gold standard of all of football. But that gold standard's got some work to do right now.
We can't talk about it right now because they're not even in the game.
Because they're not even in it, and the playoffs are still going on, Smoke. We got 4 teams left, and man, as much shit as the collective world, not Smoke, I'm not going to say something, I'm not putting you in this, gave the playoff committee crap. I mean, we got Texas playing Ohio State and Notre Dame playing Penn State. I mean, if you put yourself in a time machine in 1980 and they were doing the playoffs then, you'd be like, oh, well, hell, that sounds about right. So, I mean, you've got outside of Bama not being in it, Michigan not being in it, you got some blue bloods. We're going to get into it. Let's talk games, Smoke. Let's talk about it. The first game Thursday night, we got Notre Dame, Penn State. You talked about it. Freeman coach circles around Smart this last week. James Franklin, man, say what they will. They won the games they were supposed to, but he gets a knock on not winning the big one. This is his chance. Dude, this is a hell of a game for 2 programs that have kind of been name brands but haven't won the big one lately, and now they get a shot at the big one. Thoughts on it?
Two of the most consistent programs in college football history. Let's give them credit for that.
Absolutely.
But what I would say about what Coach Franklin and Coach Freeman's done, they've hired 2 great coordinators. And what I mean by that is when you hire 2 great coordinators, they're the head coach of that side of the ball. Now they give you the ability to now call your 4 to 5 plays that you need. For an example, what Coach Freeman did to Georgia to get that offside, that was well calculated. But when you aren't thinking about what's the next defensive call or what's the next offensive call, now you're strategizing against what you want to do. That one play that you have to know what, it's a perfect situation. If we ever get in 4th and 1, that I can call this play, run my punt team on, run them off, run my offense back on, hard count. We might have gone for it, but that put so much pressure on Georgia's defense and Kirby. Everyone was in a panic. Gave you that 5 yards, bleed the clock out, game's over. So shout out to both of those teams for understanding that they needed better coordinators to take the pressure off the coaches, head coaches, in order to make those calls and prepare your team like a head coach should. Now, when you talk about physicality, yeah, Penn State is not as physical as Notre Dame. They're physical, not as physical as Notre Dame. Their running backs make you feel like Penn State is built to get punched in the face. They don't like getting punched in the face. Go back and you watch that Boise game. Boise got with them late. Now that the sledgehammer of Allen and Singleton broke the rock of Boise because they just kept on hammering away at them. But the interior of Penn State's offensive line got pushed around. Drew Allard was on his back several times. And you're walking around like, whoa, is this supposed to happen? And it did. So when it comes to it, I think it's going to be an old school sledgehammer match.
Yeah.
And it's going to take the quarterback that's going to play the best, in my opinion, that's going to win the game. And I know you don't want to hear it, but this is a situation where if Drew Aller
That's what
can get in and play outside of his mind, he could get in the conversation of being a top 3 pick in the NFL. I know you don't want to hear the top 5, whatever number you want to call it, and have a signature win and have his team play in a national championship game. Because that's all we've all been waiting for. We know that he can throw the heck out the ball as good, if not better, than anybody in college football. But when you think about why didn't he have success early as a player, you're always going to look at the words intangible. And for me as a quarterback, that's leadership and toughness in the pocket. And he's very inconsistent with both of those. And that's why Sean Clifford started over him early on in his career.
And look, my problem with Alar is he'll hold on to the ball. And if you do that, like you said, Boise was starting hitting. Notre Dame's defense was freaking popping Georgia, and Georgia's got a much better offensive line than what Penn State.
No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't.
Okay, well, I'll hold off. But they're the physicality.
They're comparable.
But man, I'm not as high on Alar. I just don't think he has the decision. But I mean, look, can Penn State's defense do what Georgia kind of did? Because look, Notre Dame won that game by not making less errors and just playing cleaner ball than Georgia did and forcing some mistakes out of Georgia. Leonard didn't have what did he throw for, like 90 yards? I mean,
that's normal. That's normal behavior for Riley Leonard.
But Love is banged up. You know, their weapons are.
Yeah, they don't have any weapons. They got and again, Jeremiah Love is their number 1 player on offense outside of the quarterback. Faison is a little slot that's as tough as heck and find ways to get open and catches the ball. When you go into these games, Petty, you have to. I'm thinking about Siski because he hit me earlier.
Hey man, yeah, give me that's. I'll take that comment.
He hit me earlier. When you go into these games, Petty, you have to find out that these two teams are very equal to each other. And you truly just need the quarterback, speaking of Riley Leonard, 4 to 5 plays. And these aren't 50-yard touchdown throws. These aren't 20-yard laser throws over the middle when it's 3rd and 15. It's the 3rd and 1, the 3rd and 5s, in the red zone. Instead of getting a field goal, you're getting a touchdown just because he's tougher, he's physical, and he's finding a way just to get that extra half a yard to kill time to put 7 to 6 on the board instead of kicking field goals. So if Drew wants to come out and show the world that he is a franchise quarterback in the NFL, this is the game that you come out and you show the world that I'm going to put my team on my back. You don't have to babysit me. You do have Tyler Warren, and you do have my man Amari Evans, and you have the best 2 running back combination right now that complement each other with a darn good play caller against a Notre Dame team that they didn't have to really stop the Georgia's passing game, and Georgia really stopped themselves by dropping footballs. Yep. And even just this situational football, Georgia didn't play their best, and they won soundly. They beat them bad.
Oh, I agree. And you said it before the show, and I agree with Eric. I mean, that game was won on the sidelines, not on the field. I mean, Freeman outcoached Smart.
And again, Freeman's not as involved into the defense as Kirby is involved with his defense. So he's coaching the game from the headspace of the head coach. Of I have to sit here and I'm not watching what plays are getting ran. I'm deciding on what calls do I want to make in critical situations in order to get my team over the hump. And that's what he did. So if it's out coaching Kirby, sure, but I think he did do a good job of out coaching him. But those few calls in the last 3 games, Coach Freeman has pulled him out of his hip pocket and done a marvelous job of understanding rules, situational play, and the timeliness to call those. And he's been head on with those.
Who do you give the edge to on? Because man, this again, a knock on Franklin is winning the big game, but I'm torn on this one. I was on Notre Dame out of the gate. I'm kind of leaning Penn State now. You give Freeman the edge in this matchup, coaching?
I'm gonna go Freeman just because of Al Golden's defense, and just Riley Leonard has just been so gritty and gutty. And if you watch Mad Max for Boise, Madison. He had a few timely runs against that Penn State defense that got him into the situation of tying the game up or having the chance to tie it up and potentially winning it. And I just believe that Riley Leonard there's something about him that you know that he's not truly an NFL quarterback, but damn it, he makes the right plays for his
He's
team.
a gamer.
Yes, at the end of the day. Best way to
Well, and I brought up the 90 yards and you said throw that out. You're absolutely right, because if you look at the stats, it looks like shit. But if you watch the game, it seemed like every time on third down when they needed to extend a drive or something, he just made a play, whether it be with his legs or that 3-yard out route, he still made the play. And that's where I do agree with you. Leonard, just when the game's there, man, he's finding a way to do it, whatever it takes style. And that's not an NFL quarterback, but that grittiness can win you in college if you've got the right pieces around. And I'm excited about this one. I'm not going to lie, Smoke. I know the SEC fans we're down and out. There's no SEC teams in it. Sorry, Texas. A patch does not an SEC team make. You are not.
You got to cut it out, tough guy. Texas.
But man, we're not doing that. I don't get into the conference rah horse shit. And I'm sorry. I've spent 40 years as a Big 12 old Southwestern Conference. I still don't see Missouri as an SEC team. Y'all are just a team with a patch. Look, man, I'm an old man that yells at clouds when it comes to this shit.
You're just like the typical old SEC fan that
there's no SEC teams left in the tournament.
Ain't nothing but them tied. Like, stop.
Nah, I just nothing but that. Look, I consider Tulane SEC more than I do damn Texas.
Knock it off. Let's get to the next game. Knock it off.
Speaking of Texas,
yes,
the lone SEC team gets to face a freaking buzzsaw in Ohio State right now. And I'm sorry, guys. I think this is the 1 and 2 teams left in it. I love what Notre Dame's been able to do with Freeman. Penn State's a great story, yada, yada. These are the best 2 teams left in the playoffs. But I'm not even sure Texas wants any of that smoke right now. No pun intended.
God, dog. So you're just saying that just off of the last game that Ohio State played, and they're playing very. That's okay, cool. So you're putting Tennessee in there too.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you why. Because that was the game where you just lost to Michigan. Everybody's telling you your coach is a bust. You spent all this money on a bust team. That could have taken that team and said they could have shown up and laid an egg against Tennessee, and all the SEC people would have pumped their chest. Instead, they got in that locker room and they kind of showed the nation that, man, these players do like Ryan Day, regardless of what the fans, what the national media thinks. And they are a load of talent. And they came out pissed off. And Tennessee walked into a team pissed off. Well, after they played pissed off, then they saw, shit, we played like we played to the capability that we thought we were when this season started. And now they believe in themselves. Then you go play a team that beat you 5-6 weeks ago, and it wasn't even a freaking contest. With the momentum they've got mentally and the talent on that sideline, they've got the best player in college. I love Travis Hunter. I'd take him. He's a generational player. Smith is a better football player. I'd take him in a heartbeat over Travis. I would take him over Travis Hunter right now. I think he's dynamic. That dude's a freaking stud. So yeah, man, I'm sorry. Sorry, Texas. My cousin, I love you to death. I know you're a Texas fan. I hope for your sake that they do pull it off. I think everybody, if you're watching, man, everybody else is playing for second behind Ohio State right now.
So if I said that Tennessee didn't even show up to play that game and handed that game to Ohio State, what would you say?
I think Tennessee I don't agree with that. I think Tennessee got punched in the mouth and didn't have the guns to play with Ohio State. That's
laying down. If you get punched in the mouth one time and you don't fight back, that's laying down.
Okay.
So it's not like they gave you great effort and it was a competitive game and, oh, my God, it's cold out here and they're just pushing through. No. Once Nico's helmet got cracked, it was over.
Okay. Fair enough.
Did Oregon play their best game? I'm just playing devil advocate.
I don't know if they had a chance to.
They did. They showed up to the game. But did Oregon play their optimal best game? No.
No.
But Ohio State did. So you haven't really seen Ohio State get pushed or challenged to see what they'll do in an adverse situation. Well, we have, and we saw what happened.
They lost.
They didn't truly correct. So when they jump out in front of you, I think a lot of people call that front runners. They find ways to get it done, because when you're talented and you can get ahead and you start beating on people, the talent will always say true. But I'll push back on you. Said the best player on that team is Caleb Downs, but that's neither here or there.
Oh, what? Okay.
Neither here or there. You can take that guy on offense, and I think Jeremiah Smith is an outstanding talent. He's not generational. And I ask you guys to push back. Don't compare him to Julio Jones. That's blasphemous behavior. He ain't Jones.
Players.
Different players. He's more Andre Johnson than Julio Jones.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, I wouldn't make that comparison.
But either way, Andre's a Hall of Fame football player and one of the better receivers of all time. So it's not a knock on either one of them, but Jonesy is just a generational talent that we haven't seen ever. But with that said, I don't think neither one of these teams want to play physical football. Texas say they do, but when you push comes to shove, no bueno. Ohio State say they want to, but when push comes to shove, no bueno. They've just figured it out, and it's a battle of attrition. They're what the SEC used to be. They've acquired so much talent that they can throw Travion Henderson at you and say, okay, when he wears down, we're going to put the next one come in. They can say, hey, you know what? Jeremiah Smith, you can have a 3-game low point in the season, but we still got Carnell Tate. Right? You can say, you know what? We're going to devise a whole entire game plan around the best safety in college football in the last 5 years with Caleb Downs, and put him in the middle of the field and create a whole new position for him, a middle linebacker, safety, nickel, whatever you want to call him. He takes away and he patrols the middle of the football field at the line of scrimmage and also in coverage, and I haven't seen anything like that in a long time. But with that said, I would take Texas in this game. I know I sound bad, but I'm going to take Texas, and something inside of me saying don't do it, but
hey, but that's probably
Ohio State. I'm gonna go. I want to see the matchup between the Thorpe Award winner and Jeremiah Smith,
and we're gonna get it.
And we're gonna see Carnell Tate also, and Ibuka can show up too. Emeka Ibuka can show up too.
I'll tell you though, Smoke, the degenerate in me will tell you anytime that the whole world is saying this is the way it's going to go, Vegas is sitting there smiling because they know that the world's going to be shocked, because it always happens in college football. And again, I'm one of those screaming from the rooftops that Ohio State's a buzzsaw. And my problem with Texas, and you kind of pointed it out, they've been playing with fire all year. And man, in the biggest moments, it's almost like your warts come to surface. They always come to bite you because championship teams, if you've got to overcome those, you overcome those warts. And then Texas has done it to a degree, but the two teams, they played Georgia twice, they lost when their two biggest challenges. Now you're playing a team that's much more talented than Georgia. And again, you didn't have the ability to put Arizona State away. They let them stay around, and it almost cost them. They've played with fire so much. Again, college football surprises us every week, and no season has been more surprising than this one. So trying to be headstrong that something's going to happen is kind of asinine and lunacy. But and look, no doubt Texas has the damn talent. Ewers, our boy, tough as nails, saying Manning is going to come in and win the game. Boy, that would be.
That's not too far off, because Will Howard and Quinn Ewers are, to me, they're the same caliber type of guys, which you want more out of, but you're never going to get.
Like Howard.
You should like Howard is talented, just like Quinn Ewers, but at what point are you going to have enough confidence in him to say, you know what, we're going to win because of Will? I think you can lose.
They let him air it out against. They let it loose against Oregon.
Man, this busted coverage left and right. Oregon don't have enough horses to hang out with Ohio State, man. I'm telling. Listen, this game shouldn't be close. If it was basically sold and only on talent and No coaches
Oh,
involved.
well,
Line
then
them
the
all
whole
up.
season's not close.
Ohio State should blow Texas out by at least 14. That's how big of a difference the talent margin is on both sides of the football.
Does
have
Sark, can Sark X and O close that gap?
I mean, that's all he's been doing all year for Quinn Ewers. He's been giving them layups. The difference maker in this game, if Arch can come in and give you the same 4 to 5 plays like you'd ask Riley Leonard to do, I think that'll get Texas over the edge. But there's something inside of me that says Ryan Day's gonna fumble this. And I don't have enough confidence in Sark neither, but I'd rather go with Sark than Ryan Day.
I do think Sark's the better coach, and that's where you kind of ring to the Ohio State fans that were upset after Michigan because Ryan Day had fumbled a lot of talent to this point. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
the more we talk about it, the more I'm intrigued about all these games.
Yeah, you lose one game, I don't think people should beat you up. I'm just saying they should win a national championship. Winning the Ohio State versus Michigan Bowl, again, I think that the fans and the alums, we all need to look at each other a little bit different and say, it does not matter anymore because these kids don't care about rivals. If they don't care, why should we care? What do you want to go out and show? My team beat you, but the players that are on the field don't really even know what this rival's about because he just got here last year. He just got here 6 months ago. They don't know what Michigan-Ohio State rival is. Someone made it up to them. So,
but in Ohio State's proof of concept in this new playoff world, losing to your rival Michigan isn't an indictment on what kind of program you are, which is what people like Kiffin were screaming. Nobody's saying the Baltimore Ravens shouldn't make the playoffs or ain't even an NFL, a championship caliber team. They lost to the freaking Browns, the worst team in the damn NFL, and nobody's saying. So I think that's the argument. And I think Ohio State, I think Kiffin, if he wants to use an argument, use Ohio State because they lost to Michigan and it shouldn't have hurt them at all because it's showing who they, I mean, that's not an indictment on how good that team can be.
No,
that's the last I'll say on the.
It's just that day. They lost on that day, but it's
right.
Like I said, there's bigger fish to fry when you're talking about playoffs. And we just have to retool and recalibrate the way that we look at college football.
Well, I think we're going to be in for a hell of a ride. I know like I said, I know the fans were maybe wanting to see some other teams, but I think we're going to have a show Thursday night, Friday night that's going to keep us pretty damn entertained in college football. 4 big-time programs that have been there our entire lives, even though it's not ours. Sign me up, man. I'm ready. I'm still in this shit. But speaking of playoff time in the NFL. We've got Black Monday going on. Coaches getting fired.
Get him out.
We got wild card going. We got the wild card smoking up. And, man, the NFL MVP race is actually one of the more intriguing, I think, in a long time because you hear 2 names all year in Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, rightfully so because they're balling. But, man, you can't undersell what Joe Burrow's done this year in keeping a team that everybody wrote off. And now I know they needed Kansas City to win and that cost them or whatever. But, man, Joe Burrow alone in that offense kept them in, which kind of gets – and Barkley,
hold, Petty. I don't even mean to cut you off. You know there's a Triple Crown winning and on that team, too. His name's Jamar Chase.
Oh, dude, and it's not. Look, I know it's not. When you got Jamar Chase and your second guy's Higgins, yeah, man, he's got some dudes. Jamar Chase is unfreaking believable.
Now, Petty, there's an award for what Joe Burrow is doing this year. It's called the Offensive Player of the Year.
Okay. What about Barkley?
What about him?
We always seem it seems to be a quarterback thing now. Why can't we give it to – and running backs are a thing of the past in the NFL. What Barkley's done this year has been a throwback to the Emmitt Smith days, man. Why can't we give a little love? And shoot,
you can. I'm telling you, there's a place for that, and there's an award for that. Offensive Player of the Year. They're in that conversation. But when you're talking the most valuable player on his team, how many Pro Bowlers does Buffalo have?
Wow.
The left tackle and out.
That too.
Coop just got there, and they're still not even using Coop the way that we all thought Coop was going to be used.
Man, I love Coop, but I think we're –
Go ahead.
I think, man, I love Coopy. And Siski's been on here talking about he'll always say he's the hardest worker, best. But I think, God, I mean, Father Time's undefeated.
No, Cook got a little bit of juice left in him.
Does he?
Yeah. He was still.
Well, that's good. He's almost.
He got a little bit of juice left. I ain't saying a lot, but with a little bit of juice with Josh, that means a lot. But then you have Keon Coleman. Knock it off. This guy's gotten more attention for dropping the football than actually making big time plays. He's not the number one receiver that they probably thought he was going to be. That's why you go out and you'll get Cook. Dalton Kincaid hasn't lived up to the first round draft pick. Drop Knox has actually been catching the ball this year, and James Cook has been like really, really electric with the ball in his hand this year. But it's not like Josh has a bunch of talent around him. He's doing this by himself with other pieces with him. And the best two teams in the NFL, like record-wise, Kansas City, Detroit. Yeah, what's Josh's record against those two guys? Beating both of them.
Yeah, he has.
Right. And it wasn't because the way the defense played that day. Like Josh went out and played the game of his life against. Right. He balled. So I get it when you look at statistics. Lamar statistically has had a better year, but the importance to his team, I think Josh should walk away with this award as the most valuable player in the NFL, because that's what he is to that team. I don't think anyone had them being the number 2 seed when the season started. Baltimore, you can argue that they would have been in the top 2 or 3. And they got a Hall of Fame running back next to them too, don't they?
Yeah. Good
with
God. Who doesn't?
Like Andrew.
Who says to hell with Father Time?
Yeah, they got 9 players that made the Pro Bowl on that Baltimore. Like
I think that's the most compelling part of your argument right there, Smoke. You brought up Lamar. Look what he's got around him. You got Derek. He's got receiver. He's got a hell of a tight end. Then you look over. Yeah, you look over at Josh is doing it with literally nothing. And I wanted to throw Barkley out because I feel like we only talk about quarterbacks in this race now. And he's got a great team around him. It's not all him. Hurts has had a hell of a year. Two of the best receivers in the NFL take pressure off of a run game when you got A.J. Brown.
Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, so every one of the other guys.
Is the best offensive line in football. Petty.
I got to bring this up because I kind of want to talk because we were talking about offense, and there's a defensive guy I want to talk about, and he happens to play for the team this guy brought up. The Broncos are going to beat the Bills. Bills are 8.5-point favorite. Do you think the Broncos? No, Broncos are a great story. Sean Payton's done an outstanding job with Bo Nix, and I wanted to talk. He's on our picture for the night. Patrick Surtain should win the damn defensive MVP. This team gave up 175 points to Tua just 2 years ago. Patrick Surtain is a. I'm shaking your head. Give me a better one than Surtain. Come on, Bama people.
I'm gonna give you one that's not even close. Trey Hendrickson. Just whenever you want to go look, just plays on the Cincinnati.
Watts probably deserves to be mentioned.
No.
Dude, he changes if you watch them play the Bengals, they changed their offense to keep that guy out of the game, and he still disrupted the whole damn game. Dude, Watts for the Steelers is a game changer.
Tell me who else. I'm making the same compelling argument. Who else plays on the Cincinnati Bengals defense? You should triple team Trey Hendrickson, and he does. But
he's done.
Who leads the NFL in sacks?
I'll have to look that up. I'm going to say Watts until I look it up.
Don't look it up. I'm just giving you the answer already. Trey Hendrickson. Trey's the man. Just look it up. Tell me how much Trey got. And there ain't nobody else on that team with him on defense. His defensive coordinator got fired.
Okay. Trey, Myles Garrett's still putting up numbers. I didn't even know he was still alive. That's amazing.
Compare Myles to my man Trey.
Myles got 14. Trey's got 17.5. Man, my guy ain't even on the damn list.
Oh.
So I'm going to have to all right. I'm still going with Surtain, though.
You can go with Patrick. If you want to argue that Denver's defense, the reason why the Denver Broncos winning is because of Patrick Surtain locking down receivers, fine. But I'm going to say Trey Hendrickson is the only guy on that Cincinnati Bengals defense that you can walk around and pump your chest like.
Well, yeah, because their defense was horrible. He was it.
It wasn't because of him.
Nah.
Right.
Well, final note on that, Jay Bake. Apparently, you've been waking and baking on those in your Nuggets because, dude, as cute of a story as the Broncos are, they're not going into Buffalo. And
They got a chance. They got a chance, but it's not a great. They got.
I like the Broncos story though, and I love their freaking uniforms. But man, I'm with Smoke, man. I'm a Bills guy this year.
And follow my man Trey Hendricks.
And I think you're right. I think the MVP race, if you're being real, what Allen's done this year and without the top tier weapons that everybody else has, God, I love Josh Allen. That dude. Well, on a good MVP note, not MVPs are the coaches that are getting under the guillotine on Black Friday. Man, it looks like we've got is there 5 or 6 teams? The Jags got rid of Peterson. The Colts got rid of Bradley. So we've got the Bears, the Jags, the Titans, the Jets, the Saints, the Patriots, all looking for coaches. Is that?
Well, the Colts just fired Gus is their defensive coordinator. Shane is still.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Shane is still there along with Chris Ballard. But you got Jared Mayo, one and done. Tough, but when your team stops playing and they look worse at the end of the season than at the beginning, like they've checked out on you. And once they check out on you, your ownership, they got to do it. Jacksonville Jaguars, whenever you have the number 1 overall pick and it's a quarterback, and you're riding a roller coaster and your quarterback, and you're known to be a quarterback guy with Coach Peterson, and your quarterback's not taking that step, somebody has to get it. The Jets, I mean, that's a dumpster fire waiting to happen, and I guess they're going to try to hire Rex again. They'll be looking for another.
Why do we do that in NFL? Explain this. Explain the retread mentality of the NFL to me, Smoke. Why do they do that shit?
Old Faithful, because it's a retread league.
Why?
Because everyone believes that. Well, first, it's hard to find like qualified head coaches to begin with, and ownership. You got to remember they're old men that are stuck in their ways, just like you are. You see, every time we talk about SEC, you go, all right, ain't no team like you have to evolve and start thinking better, more advanced. And I don't know what Rex Ryan going to the Jets with Woody Johnson and what they need to do is going to happen. I've been a part of the Rex Ryan experience. Yeah, it ended in 2. Yeah, I was in the building with Rex Ryan. I love Rob. I think Rob's a great mind. I think Rob's a great coach. Rex, I think he's solid, but I don't think I think you have to find something new to really get that New York crowd going and to get that building going again. Because if it's defense, the year before Rex came on, Jim Sorts had our defense as number 3 in the NFL, and we're playing lights out. 2 years under Rex Ryan, I can't say that we sniffed the top 10 maybe.
And that's his forte, right, D?
And guys didn't know what to do half the daggone time. And that's not indictment on anybody. It's just what I saw with my own 2 eyes in the building. Not good enough. Not good.
So to all these, so we're talking about Rex going to the Jets. I mean, are all these teams? I mean, are all of them? Are we just all these going to be filled with retreads?
No, I think Ben Johnson's going to get an opportunity.
Okay.
I think Aaron Glenn should get a true opportunity at being a head coach. You have guys that's worked with quarterbacks. If you have a young quarterback and you need somebody to come in your building and inject energy, and the best quarterback coach that I've ever been around, Pep Hamilton, is a name that he's just going to get the Rooney interview, which most black coaches know when they're getting the Rooney interview. They just do it just for favor. We're not going to get tonight. We don't have enough time.
I know.
Not enough time.
Get into that bullshit.
Yeah, this is going to be a Rooney check for the most part. The OC down at for the Commanders, Cliff is going to get an opportunity to go out there and call to be a head coach. You have Canales Dave Canales, yes, he'll get an opportunity to do so. Josh is OC, and I don't believe that he's ready this year, but he should get into the cycle of the head coaching cycle, which is Joe Brady. I think Joe should have an opportunity to do it. I'm just not a fan of hiring defensive-minded coaches when you have a young quarterback in the NFL, because I think those defensive-mind guys think the same way.
They don't develop. They don't turn. You need a Josh. You need a McDaniel or Shanahan, one of those guys.
And if you don't have that, have your offensive coordinator be a quarterback guy that can have that hard conversation without you being around, because those tough defensive coordinator guys, they all go in there. If you don't do it my way, it ain't going to work. We're going to run the ball and play good defense. Man, throw that out the window. Your quarterback has to win in the playoffs, and you got to throw the ball in order to win.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good God. So, hold on. Tough as nails. Petty, my wife is a Swiftie. I brought her to Kansas. You're asking if I'm a Swiftie? There's your answer, man. My daughters have been multiple times. This is a Swiftie household. We don't talk bad about Tay-Tay in this house. When she shows up at Kansas City, we kiss the screen. Yeah, man, you Swift. How are you not a Swift? She went to her homecoming was at my high school. She went to Hillcrest High School's prom. Hillcrest High School prom. Look it up. Swift. Yeah, I'm a damn Swiftie. With that said, do you see any college coaches that might make the jump? There's a lot of fire. Sark's name is getting tossed around for the Patriots, maybe the Cowboys. Do we see anybody make that jump?
Here's a guy that I would really, if I was a general manager, I would look into. Marcus Freeman. I said this the other day. You see CEO. Like, he's gotten away from I'm a linebacker defensive guy. You see a CEO, manager of the game. It's tough to go into the NFL and, like, someone will say Sark still wants to call the game. And if you're going to do that, you're going to have a veteran coach, just like Coach Freeman did with Al Golden. Al Golden's been a head coach before. Gives you that opportunity now to, yes, you can still call the game if you're Sark, but you have a defensive mind that can help you control it and give you those thoughts of, hey, listen, coach, this is what we should do. This is what we shouldn't do. So I would say Marcus Freeman would be my guy if I had one vote for a college coach making that next step.
Eric D'd like to see him at Alabama.
No, I wouldn't do that to myself if I was him. Like, you got a good thing going on Notre Dame. I would never leave Notre Dame to take another head coaching job in college football, just for what we understand what it is. You can set your schedule any way that you want it. The pressure is only to win one. You're going to get in the college football playoffs, unlimited resources, and you're playing for the Golden Dome. Don't get any easier than that. Don't complicate it and be Brian Kelly and go into the mosh pit of the SEC. That's your fault.
I think the option would be, I think if you're going to leave, I agree with you, Smoke, go to the NFL. Like, that's what's going to allure play. The big teams aren't the allure anymore. The NFL is, so you don't have to deal with this BS everybody else is dealing with.
Absolutely.
With that said, man, there's a question, and I love that I got a former NFL guy on here, because it's one of those things, as a fan, you feel like it's when you see it, you're like, you question, like, is this a good idea? But not being there, you don't really have a clue. But we saw it with Kansas City, and this is the rest in the players deal. And I'm glad to have an NFL guy on here. I've always felt like resting players before the playoffs ends up hurting teams in the long run. It almost like it's getting them out of their rhythm, their mojo, whatever, because you take that week off and then you're almost like getting back in it. Do you see, is that just a myth in my head, or is that a real deal?
No, I don't think it's a myth, but you have to know your team, and you might be Kansas City. And in Kansas City, they do need a week off. I mean, they played in back-to-back Super Bowls. They played more games than any other franchise in the last 3 years. So why not give them a week off from getting beat up? And when you have Patrick Mahomes and you have Big Red and you have that defense led by Chris Jones, yeah, those guys can just throw on the cape at any point and go out there. They don't need rhythm. They can set their rhythm when they get out there. They just need the ball and the opportunity. They can play crappy for 3 quarters, and they all look at each other and like that. It's a click. So you have to know your team. Like, if you're playing with Jalen Hurts, yeah, Jalen might need to stay on schedule and because he needs the rhythm. Yeah, Patrick can go on any dance floor, play any music, and rhythm is caught now. Chris Jones, half the time he don't even play into the fourth quarter. So
he don't have the time. He don't play to the end of the season, and that's why we were talking about a defensive MVP. How good are you that you just show up when you got to, and you literally change the game on defense?
Yeah, these. I don't think these. Once you start winning Super Bowls and you are known as one of the better players at your position, like you can care less about the individual
all that shit. Yeah. I don't think there's a more dominant force. Like we can give MVPs and awards. If you want to say the most dominant force in NFL on defense, Chris Jones, absolutely.
Chris Jones in the playoffs in the fourth quarter. I agree.
It's scary what he does. Okay, good answers. With that said, man, let's say the fans had some comments and some questions. Let's get those before we get out of here. Before we do that though, man, I gotta give a little love to we missed the sponsor who I took with me all over the Caribbean this week, and that is one Title Towel. Go to whitwillsports.com today. Tell them the promo code STANDARD and get a discount on this beautiful towel that if you were on Twitter this week, X, following me and the Bama Standard, you saw it all over the Caribbean. It was in Turks. It was in Aruba, Jamaica. Come on, I want a Title Towel. And then it was also in, where was the other place? Bonaire, that's right. So, man, Title Towel worldwide. Get you one today and don't show up empty-handed for the next Bama basketball game without that Title Towel. Whitwill, we love you, man. You are one of the best. He is one of he is the Rocks sponsor here at the Bama Standard. We love you guys.
Let's get to these questions. Let's give him a hot.
With that said,
FF
Rom, I'm going to put two of his up back to back because he had two that were kind of the same. Will Texas QB Quinn take $1 million for the portal offer? And then he followed it up with who is going to pay Quinn for the portal to $6 million. You know, you got an answer here, Smoke?
There are a bunch of teams lined up right now to take out. I would take Quinn Ewers if I'm at any school.
Yeah,
just because he gives you that opportunity to win now. Veteran quarterback, and it ain't gonna be $1 million. It's $6 million. That's the going rate for him. And if you're
10,
that's it. 6-10. Once you start going into that, it don't even matter. Like Petty, you got money, so it don't even really matter. M's a M. So if it's $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, $10 million, yeah, you're big money anyway. So it don't really matter. But for him, if you put him in Oregon next year.
That's the team I'm here. That's who I think does pull the trigger.
If you take him and say, okay, you know what, Kirby, we'll give him to you in Georgia. So what? I mean, I don't think Sark could be upset if he leaves and you have Arch.
I think it's one of those things where we love you, we love what you've done, but we're kind of ready for that. You know,
and dark horse is always Miami. They've done
Miami. Tough as nails said Ole Miss. Ole Miss won't even be in the running for Ewers. I think they're good with the Simmons kid that they got coming in, and that they're not going to drop $10 million on a quarterback when they got to buy offensive line and defensive line to replace what they just lost this year. So I think you're right. Miami could be a dark horse there.
Dark horse. Miami, Oregon, and I know that Oregon feels good about Dante Moore, but
I'm telling you, train whack, that's the numbers. Dude, they paid $2.7 million for the freaking Jackson Arnold to go to Auburn. Yeah, they don't pay $2 million.
Mensa got $2 million. It's nothing.
Yeah, $10 million is not crazy. All right, so
I wouldn't pay $6. I wouldn't pay $6 for Quinn Ewers just because I know a lot of it's going to be dead money. And when you watch film, Steve Sarkisian has a bunch of layups for him. Oklahoma, yeah, but I don't think Oklahoma's in a space right now for that. But
yeah,
hopefully.
I don't know Quinn's dad's name, so I'm just going to call you Mr. Ewers. You're Mr. Ewers right now, and you're advising your son Quinn, who is now getting courted to stay in college football for $6 to $10 million, whatever. But you're now getting your draft grades. What do you advise him to do?
Go back to college and pick up the 6. You ain't gonna get 6 next year. He's not he's not a first round pick. He's
welcome to the new world.
He's a 3-4. Test well, everything happens perfect. He'll go in the second round just because the NFL bump quarterbacks up. But take the money, play one more year in college, and go to a good system that fits your skill set. And you can get another quarterback whisperer, just like Steve Sarkisian, to help your maturation, your development, to play the game from the shoulders up. Because he can spin it, but there's times you don't see him throw it with confidence. And that's the biggest thing with Quinn.
We can
Milroe
talk.
do the same thing. And you know what? Before we even get to this, I got one message from my man Jalen Milroe and whoever's representing him. Don't play in the Senior Bowl.
Whoa. Okay.
Don't do it.
Why?
He has too many deficiencies that he's going to get picked apart. Don't do it.
And they will, because that's a scouting combine.
Go away, get to the scouting combine, throw the ball 80 yards, and let them figure it out after that you get drafted in the top 15 picks. Senior Bowl, they're going to eat them up. But, hey, that's me. That's them. Keep playing.
And I don't think it's crazy for him to take some. If somebody's going to offer him $3-4 million, you're not going to make. He's not getting that in the first. He's not getting that either. Go take that money, Jalen, and play one more year of college football.
Nah, Jalen's going to the league. He just don't need to go to Senior Bowl.
And with that said, man, I don't. Of all the crazy changes and pills these football fans are having to swallow, I don't think there's a crazier one than the fact that college players are now opting to not go to the NFL because there's more money to stay in college. That's just insane. What's the next question, Justin? I know we got several. But is that not? I mean, that's nuts, Smoke.
No, that's fair.
How much do you think the game being postponed 18 hours affected it? Terrorist attacks while Kirby's dad passing away. I mean, that's really tough time to motivate your guys.
You know what? It's tough to touch on that just because you got to get to the human side of everything. And I know that it's tough. But I don't want to take away anything that Notre Dame did. But
no, because Notre Dame had to play under the same delay, and know.
I don't want to. Yeah, but I don't want to crap on what happened in there too. So it played a role. How big of a role, I don't know. But they both had to play that delay. But Kirby's pops passing, man, condolences
that's
out
tough,
to
man.
their family. But that's tough to go through that and have all that done.
And everybody reacts different. You can't take one story you've heard in sports and just like parlay it to everybody, because you do have the stories of Brett Favre's dad dying and him coming out and throwing for 300 yards or whatever, and all those stories. But I mean, it's that's a tough thing to deal with. But I'm with you, Smoke. I don't want to take away from what Notre Dame did, because I've taken away from Notre Dame for 3 decades, and I watched them play as physical as an SEC team. SEC. I know yelling at clouds, but I mean, got to give them credit for the physicality they played with.
They won square.
2 minutes done. All right, let's get through them. Smoke's got to go in 2 minutes. What's the next one? Rapid fire.
Let's do it. Shoot it.
Texas hasn't been tested like Ohio State. It might be another blowout. Ohio State done beat 4 top 10 teams. 3 of them was blowouts. I disagree on the tested. They've gotten tested twice and they've lost.
Yeah. Okay. Like, they've been tested. They've all been like, at this point during the season, everyone's been battle tested. I'm not taking away anything from Ohio State. I'm just saying, in the college football playoff games, the 2 teams that they beat up badly on might have played their worst games of the season at that point. And they took advantage of it. So I'm not taking away anything from what the Buckeyes did, but it's not like they played in the same matchup that you saw, say, Boise and Penn State when it came almost down to the wire, or Texas and Arizona State, where it got dicey for a second and it's 1 play away and 1 call away and it's a field goal away from winning. They're just pummeling these teams that aren't playing up to their standards. Yeah. So, I mean, both teams will have a true test this week coming up.
They will, which I do. Ohio State, if that's your name, I do think your team is I don't agree with the test part, but I do agree it's about to be a test I don't think Texas can pass. Yeah,
sign me up.
You said we got 2 more, Justin, before we get Smoke out of here. Jay Bates, thoughts on the potential of getting Ryan Grubb? I say no. To hell with him and his wife.
God, Jay Bates, you're tough. Listen, I'm always a fan of coaches getting the coach that they want to give them the best opportunity. And Coach DeBoer didn't have his staff that he wanted. Now you're really seeing him get the guys that he wanted in-house in order to develop his football team. So let's judge him this year when he has his guys on offense and defense and see what happens. Players and coaches.
Hey, I want to give, again, Grubb was the advertisement out of the gate. I'm not going to write him off because he took an NFL job. Now, Justin probably knows this. Why do we not like his wife? Did she pull like a rich rod and get pissed at Feinbaum and say we're not going to Tuscaloosa or some shit. I don't know.
Jay Bank, I'm not one. I talk about coaches and players, man. I don't get into their personal lives and touch on their wives and stuff like that. For me, that's a no touch, no bueno.
Trainwreck mentioned it. I guess the Bama fans, because I think Saban went after Grubb at one point and got turned down, so they're feeling jilted twice, dude. This is a new world.
Wives have a part in this too, because we all have families, and at times it might not work out for what you want to do. We all go through it. I have to make tough decisions like that. Everybody does, but I'm not gonna knock anybody for making family decisions.
No, never. Look, if I would do it, I wouldn't like any of the damn Mannings because they all made better decisions after not going to Ole Miss. All right, last question. What we got, Justin, before we get Smoke out of here, talk about our shows, all that good stuff. When will Eric, great question, Eric D. When will Eric be enemy going to get his opportunity? That's
to do what?
Be, I guess, a head coach.
You know what? Eric Bieniemy's had his opportunity. It just hasn't worked out at UCLA. It didn't work out with the Commanders. It worked well for him in Kansas City, but I think he's had his opportunities. And I think at some point we all have to look at it and judge it for face value for what it's worth and the job that you do, regardless of what the situation is. It's either we all get judged on wins and losses. In Kansas City, he did a heck of a job. In DC, not so good. In UCLA, it was just okay, and they felt like they needed to move on.
There you go. Man, Smoke, it was so good being back with you. Not as good as being in the Caribbean swimming with the Barracuda.
Beyond. There you go.
Where can they follow you the rest of the week, good sir?
Man, come follow me at Coach GV Dixon on X and on IG, Smoke B Dixon. Come get with me. There
you go. And I'm Daniel Petty. Follow me on Petty_Daniel on Twitter X. I'm also on the Facebook under my name, Pettey. If you can't find me, you probably don't need to. With that said, man, we got a huge lineup. What's Smoke was going to give me hell for that.
No, you go ahead. No, I thought you were going to forget our lineup with my brother.
No. We got a huge lineup this week. Hey, this is the opening kick. That means we're just kicking stuff off. Tomorrow night, Smoke will be back with us on the flagship, the Bama Standard, at 6 Central. Guys, AJ McCarron, my boy Justin, y'all love him. Y'all know Justin. Everybody here watches the Bama Standard, loves Justin Riley. This man has fought like hell. Tried to get AJ, but AJ don't answer his phone. He doesn't have his phone around him. You want to talk about old school? AJ's old school.
We got him. All accounts.
Tomorrow night, AJ will be on with the guys, Justin, Smoke, Steve Brown, Marvin going to be bringing the heat. Do not miss. I don't know if Bo's going to be showing up.
Stephen M. Smith. Y'all keep forgetting the prized possession of the show.
Only because I like the way you do it.
Stephen M. Smith, the best one on the show, period.
The wealth of knowledge and should have been a wrestling introducer. That is followed up by the final whistle at 8 Central. That will be me, my boy Matt Cadell, Chris James, Lushawn, Ty, Dan James, the star of the Bama Standard, keeps us all in line. I don't know what the hell we'll be talking about, but we'll be there talking. Then we got Wednesday night, the Crimson Dynasty at 6:30 with Cishi, JB. Stephen Smith shows up on that sometimes. Dan James, she kind of has a potpourri after her and JB, but that is always a fire-ass show. And then, as always, 8:15, you got Teague's Take. The man, the myth, the legend, always bringing the fire. And then coming on Thursday, it's our basketball season. The Tide took down Oklahoma by 30 at home. We got a big week of SEC basketball heating up. If you're not paying attention, SEC basketball is about to be fan-freaking-tastic. So we'll be there Thursday, 7:30, going hard in the paint. JT, Herb, my boy Herb, who was in the chat tonight. I think you were on a show with Herb.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, CC is the most underrated talent right now in this world. She is magnificent.
She's
a beast.
Dynamite.
She's a beast.
She gives you shit, too.
She puts me in my place every single time, and I like it.
Dude, you and her. I watched 5 minutes of the post game, and all I saw was Cishi and her giving you the what for.
You know what? I'm jumping on that show. I'm gonna
jump on it Wednesday. Cishi, you need to go on that show with Cishi.
I hope she's not watching tonight, so she don't know that I'm gonna sneak in. I'm gonna get after her, dude.
You gonna sneak in like a ninja?
Yeah. She got after me last time. I might have to give her the business this time. But
no, my girl. Oh, go ahead.
My girl,
Yeah,
she's wonderful.
Oh, look. Everybody knows she's the real rock star of this damn network. Then Sunday night, we're not done there. Sunday night, talking Bama, JB, JT. I think Marshall, if he's still there, going to the military, I don't know. And Stephen M. Smith, well, he shows up moonlighting on that show with all of his knowledge. I'm Smoke. I got it this time. Look, we got a full week here on the Bama Standard, as always. Stay with us. It's going to be a hell of a ride. The season may be over, but the party's still going. And with that said, man, I am very truthful. This is one of my favorite hours of spending an hour talking ball with my man, Smoke Dixon.
See you next Monday. Let's do it again.
See you next Monday, guys.
Come on back, y'all.
Oh, it's just me, Justin.